to our show today that's titled Mortgage Talk. I'm your host, Mark Hairston, and I excuse me. I have a very special guest today, actually a very good friend of mine, and we're going to get into some of his information just a second. Before I do that, I want to share a story, what I would call a little success story, at least for me. I got a call this week from one of our listeners, a young man who is buying his first home. And he heard us on the radio last week talking about this consumer guide called The Truth in Lending. And in that guide, I recommend people get 3 quotes. And he had been pre approved with an online lender. And then he also went to his realtor, had referred him, who I didn't know his realtor, but they referred him to their preferred lender. And then he heard me and he called me, and I was able to help him because I was able to get him a lot better rate. Turns out he was a veteran. The other 2 lenders didn't even ask if he was a veteran. And I'm thinking, why wouldn't they ask that question? That's a basic mortgage 101 question. If you're a veteran, you have benefits that like I don't have that they're going to always be preferable. So I did want to throw that out there. If you're a veteran, make sure you understand your benefits around your VA loans. And so I want to jump in here now and introduce my buddy Tom Catlin. And I've known Tom probably at least 10 years, and we've done quite a bit of business together. And he's one of the things I want to point out, he's a native of Williamson County, certainly Georgetown specifically. So we're going to focus a little bit around the Georgetown market. He's a realtor with Keller Williams. And so introduce yourself and tell us about it.
Well, so yeah, I've been in the business 9 years, so close to 10 years.
Yeah.
Grew up in Georgetown, moved there between 6th and 7th grade, and so I've definitely seen changes. You and I were talking about this before the show, that when I first moved to Georgetown, it was a long, long ride from Austin to Georgetown, and now it's just all one city.
It really is.
So things have really changed. So
I want to share a quick story around that. When I first bought my first home in 1990, so 33 years ago, it was down in the Oak Hill area of Austin, almost all the way to Dripping Springs in a way. And my neighbor, who I'd known for about 6 months, excuse me, for about 6 months, named Les. This was 33 years ago, but I'll never forget it. He put a for sale sign. He's going to sell his house. And I said, hey, man, where are you going? He says, we're moving to Georgetown. I thought, Georgetown? You may as well go to Dallas. I mean, it just seems so far. And now, every time I'm in Georgetown, I'm thinking, God, I wish I would have bought a house in Georgetown. So anyway.
Yeah, things have really, really changed. Williams Drive is 5 lanes, 4 lanes with the turn lane, and
used to be a dirt road or a 2-lane road or something.
It was a 2-lane road, and it was, we as kids, we would try to race from the pool on Williams Drive to the entrance at Serenata, which is about a mile, to see if we could get there before a car came. And now you couldn't do that during Snowmageddon. It's just always busy.
Crazy. Yeah. So I know you don't just sell in Georgetown. You're really a Williamson County expert, and you sell into Austin too.
Yeah.
But since you're from there, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about what you see as the major changes. I mean, obviously Sun City would be one of those things, or just share a little bit about the growth as you know it.
Well, for the last 2 years, Georgetown has been the fastest growing city with a population of 50,000 or more in the United States.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, absolutely crazy to think about. So that's, it's obviously the growth is pretty profound. There's some unique aspects to Georgetown. Within the city limits of Georgetown, there's actually 4 or 5 school districts, which was news to me when I first started in real estate.
4 or 5 school districts in one city?
Yeah, there's Georgetown School District, Gerald, Leander, and Liberty Hill. So yeah, it's all kinds of, yeah. So just because you're moving to Georgetown doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get that school district, that kind of thing. But it's, rapidly growing. It's its own unique community. I think it's more distinct than, no offense to Round Rock or to Hutto, it's got its own identity. People go there as a destination. They call it the most beautiful square in Texas. And just, a lot of unique things there. It's kind of hard for me to appreciate because I went to high school there.
Right.
Yeah.
So aside from the square, what is, and this is a piggyback on what you just said about the fastest growing city in the country, over 50,000 population. What is the attraction? Is it Is it real estate prices? Is it taxes, or is it, what is it? Lifestyle?
It's a real hard question to answer. It certainly isn't taxes. I don't think taxes attracts anybody
Yeah.
anywhere.
Would you call it a con, really, a part of Georgetown that's a negative?
It's just kind of a neutral. It's neither a positive nor a negative. Just depends on where you are within the area. It has the square,
Yeah.
which is, like I said, the most beautiful square. It's really just kind of a unique place to live. It has its own lake. It's not part of the Colorado water or Colorado River water supply, so it's got its own water source. Actually, the Georgetown water goes all the way up to Fort Hood, or they've changed the name, but I forgot the name of what they've changed it to.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And I know this spring y'all had a big festival up there, a big 2-day music festival.
Yeah,
as I recall.
Red Poppy Fest every year. That's a big deal. Back in the day, it was called Mayfair, and it was on one block, and now they've got a feature stage, and it's a really, really big deal. There's several events every year. July 4th, Sertoma does the fireworks. Sing the national anthem.
Now tell us more about that. I know you're really involved in giving back too.
Yeah.
And on the 4th of July, I didn't realize you were a singer, but apparently you maybe you're the best in the town.
They didn't have me try out or anything. They just asked if I would do it. And so, 11 in the morning and 9:30 at night, just before the fireworks start. And in the meantime, in between that, I introduce the bands. Again, that's put on by Sertoma. There's a little support from the Rotary Club, but that's really unique. Another way that I give.
Where's that going to be held?
That's in San Gabriel Park.
Okay.
Which
is a big city park.
Yeah, one of two big city parks. At just downtown, kind of close to Sonic, and that's
I've been there
local
before.
Reference. Yeah,
but it's been a while.
Yeah, about probably 10,000 people will be there. It'd be really crowded by the time the sun goes down.
Now, I also want to mention that for several years, and I forget, you tell us, but for several years, you've been voted as the best of Georgetown in the real estate category. Is that right?
Yeah, that's my 6 years in a row. I've been in the top 3. They give a certificate, I guess, but they call it a medal. So the first year was a surprise. I didn't know I was nominated for it, and I got the bronze. And the last 2 years, I've been the gold medalist for Best of Georgetown as an individual agent. So
that's wonderful. We want to highlight that for any callers out there maybe looking at Georgetown, that you want to work with a top quality agent like Tom Catlin, and you're going to be in Williamson County for sure. And so let's talk about some of the cons of living in Georgetown. Before the show, we kind of talked about traffic. If you're living in Georgetown or moved to Georgetown, but you work in Austin, it's a little challenging, isn't it?
It's a big challenge. I lived in Chicago for a while, and there was where the interstate came into Chicago on this kind of south side. They call it the Hillside Strangler because it just went down to like 2 lanes. That kind of happens in Round Rock now. So if you're going into Austin and you're planning on commuting from Georgetown, you either need to take the tollway and go around that way, but that's getting heavier traffic now, or just plan on a longer commute. I mean, I used to commute from Georgetown to San Marcos to go to college for 2 of my 4 years.
Really?
Yeah. And that was an easy commute.
Yeah.
But it was, straight through Austin, 60 miles each way.
Yeah. But 130's helped some of that.
130 has definitely alleviated
a lot of that traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, cool. And besides that, we were talking a little bit about school districts. You mentioned 4 or 5 school districts.
Yeah. I don't know how all that gets zoned, but so Sun City is probably the largest, and we're going to talk about school districts, but Sun City is probably the largest subdivision, but that's part of the Jarrell School District.
That's amazing.
It's very strange. Georgetown School District.
But of course, if you're living in Sun City, most likely you don't have your little kids either.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
About, so that's a positive, I guess.
But we've got the Liberty Hill, Leander School District, Liberty Hill School District, Georgetown, Jarrell.
It's crazy.
And actually, I think Hutto has part of the school district on the southeast side. So
interesting. Tell us a little bit more about Sun City. If some of our listeners are thinking about retiring possibly in Georgetown, or downsizing, from a larger home into Sun City. Tell us about that community. I think it's very unique. There's only a few of them in the country, as I recall.
Yeah. So Sun City is just this huge subdivision, over 7,000 houses, and they range in size from 1,200 square feet to I've got one coming up in about a month that's 5,500 square feet.
Really?
Yeah, and so a lot of people don't know there's
That's not
houses
downsizing.
no, that's not downsizing.
No, typically
not at all. If you have interests, things that you like to do, whether it's centered around politics or events or golf or pickleball or whatever, they've got so much going on. The only reason you would be bored is if you chose to be bored. And they have 3 golf courses, really nice. I'm actually going to be doing a video.
3 golf courses?
Yeah. There's 6 overall in Georgetown, and I'm going to do the top 3 holes of each golf course to have the Georgetown preferred 18.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Do you play golf?
Not well.
Me either. So I was telling you before, my brother-in-law, my wife's brother, and his wife, they both live in Sun City. They moved there about 2 or 3 years ago. And Craig's probably 60 or so. And of course, you got to be over 55 to live there, as I recall. And they had lived in Lakeway for like 30 years. And where I live now. And I'm thinking, what do you like about Sun City? And Craig says, everything. He said, there's so much to do. Like you said, you're never going to be bored, whether you play golf or not. They've got all sorts of social things, and the community is really tied in together as long as you want to get involved. So that's a cool thing.
Yeah, it is. It's hard for me to understand for quite a while, but it's anything that you want to do. Woodworking. I've got a friend actually that I was helping him with irrigation, a different story altogether, and he did this Lazy Susan for me out of wood, and it's really, everything that you can imagine. Or if you just want to be by yourself, you can certainly do that in Sun City.
That's cool. That's cool. So we talked a little bit about Georgetown as far as the real estate community. Tell us about stats. What's ongoing now as far as inventory, prices? Are you seeing prices come down a little bit? Are you seeing a stable market? What are you seeing there?
I would characterize pretty much everywhere, but I'd characterize Georgetown as more of a buyer's market now. There's a lot better opportunity for buyers to negotiate on their terms. It's not exclusively that way. What's kind of interesting, one of my favorite areas of Georgetown is Old Town. And if one of the nicer houses in Old Town, which is closer to the square, goes on the market and it's in good shape, if between $1 and $1.5 million, that just goes really
quick.
Yeah.
You have multiple offers still sometimes?
Yes. Yeah. There was one I had a retired Air Force colonel that he and his wife were looking at. And I said, if you maybe feel like you don't have time to think, and they missed it completely.
They missed it.
Yeah.
That's too bad. And then what we're seeing in the mortgage, my business, as far as Williamson County, we're seeing some movement also up further north, even into Bell County, Temple, Belton, that sort of thing. Are you working those markets too?
Yeah, I go pretty wide range, really. Williamson County is kind of my focus. I go as far south as Dripping Springs. That's typically I refer that out.
Yeah.
And I go up to Jarrell, into Salado. And when I get up to Temple, actually there's a girl that I guess statistically 87% of agents kind of quit after their first 2 years.
87%?
Yeah.
Wow.
But this woman that I was in real estate school with 9 years ago, when I'm in Bell County, I feel like I'm violating her space. So I make sure and give that business to her. But yeah.
And as we talk more about Williamson County, you've got typically Round Rock, Hutto, Georgetown, Cedar Park, Leander,
Liberty Hill.
And all those seem to be growing as well.
They are. The biggest challenge that I see is, water. The city of Georgetown says that for their jurisdiction, that's not a challenge. It's not supplying the water, it's treating the water.
Treating the water.
Okay. So they've got access to Lake Georgetown, and Stillhouse Hollow provides the water. But it's just a matter of getting it treated for the population that we have. That's the biggest challenge. But yeah, it is growing exponentially.
That's great. And so, you mentioned, so how about shopping and things like that? I know over the years, as Georgetown has grown, obviously developers come in and offer a lot of services to people like they should. What do you see in as far as retail or other industry?
That's funny. The big news in Georgetown for the last 2 years has been, and the mayor and the city manager every year do a state of the city, which is really, really good and informative. But the number one question has been, when is Costco coming?
Mm.
So they're opening July, I believe it's the 12th, and their gas pumps are now open.
Really?
So the
Really?
excitement is brewing in Georgetown.
Where is it?
It's on 35 near the airport, 35 and Lakeway.
35 in Lakeway. Okay. See, I live in Lakeway, Texas. Of course, that's a little bit different. We've been over there about 3 years, and we love Costco.
Yeah.
But the closest Costco to us is over in South Austin. It's over off South Mopac, and so we have to drive over there, which is a hassle. But anyway, maybe Lakeway will get their stuff together.
Yeah. So Costco, that's one thing. So that's one place that you can get groceries. People tend to say, "Oh man, all we have is HEB." Well, we've got a brand new HEB. There's 2 HEBs. There's a Randall's. There's actually one of my favorite stores to go to is a Mexican grocery store on South Austin Avenue. That, man, I walk in there and they help me speak Spanish.
They'll change your life, won't they?
Oh man.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, you and I have breakfast somewhat often at Monument, which is a kind of a cool place too.
Yep. That's been on diners, dives, and drive-ins or whatever.
Mm-hmm. That's a great place.
That's a good place to go. They always have good biscuits. You always see somebody, or I always see somebody I know.
Yeah, I never see anybody I know. And so, getting back to the real estate, it seems to me that some investors are starting to come back in the market because prices have gotten a little bit better. What are you seeing as investment opportunities up in Georgetown or even further out?
Yeah. So people come to me and they'll ask me questions like, well, what's the right formula?
Yeah.
I don't know what your appetite is for investment and that kind of thing, but I can just show you what's out there. I do have a guy that I went to high school with is developing an area in Jarrell that he's going to have 3plexes and 4plexes for sale. And those look like really good investments.
Now, Jarrell's east of
north, just up 35. Yeah.
Okay. That's right. I know Jarrell. Yeah. I was thinking of Fort Hood or Catlin, but that's a different area.
Yeah. And that's northwest. So
right.
Anyway, that's a great opportunity. I think if you had the opportunity to get a newer construction duplex, that would be great.
Mm-hmm.
There's just rentals everywhere are becoming such a challenge,
Yeah.
That if you can provide a quality property and still make money in your investment.
Well, hook me up on that deal. I may want to come look.
Come on.
And speaking of builders, or let's say tract builders or large developments, are the builders still out there active? Or are they kind of pulled back a little bit? And are there good deals in new homes?
They're still active, and there are definitely good deals. There's incentives for buyers. There's incentives for agents. You have opportunities now that you didn't during the pandemic.
What's an example of that?
Well, they wouldn't let you make any changes. This is what you're going to get.
Okay.
Now,
they're a little more flexible.
You can select color. You can select granite. You can select all kinds of things. So there's more flexibility. There's less of a it's less of a frenzy. It's so much better, really, for a buyer, and that's something that we really need to keep in mind. If you've bought before, or if you're thinking about buying for the first time, now is the time. They say, and you just need to remember this: marry the house, date the rate.
That's right.
And when you're trying to buy, everybody seems to be waiting right now for the interest rates to go down, and what that's going to do is open up competition, and you're not going to get the house that you want.
I've been preaching that for a while now.
Preach, brother.
Yeah, and there's another old saying I like. It says, "Don't wait to buy real estate. Buy real estate and wait." Because I've never been hurt buying real estate personally. Some people may have, but I'm not one of them. And so we haven't timed every deal right, but I still think now is a good time to be buying, even though rates are higher. Because like you say, I think rates will be coming down this year and the next year. with the election coming in 24, the government's going to have to do something to try to save face. And I think rates is one of those things they can control.
I agree.
We'll see. So you also said something to me earlier today, this morning, about something about title fraud. Can you hit on that? Because I wasn't even sure what you were talking about.
This is one of the most frightening things that I can think of. We think about buying real estate and being the biggest investment in anybody's life. Evelyn McLean, who's one of the I forget what her title is, but Justice of the Peace in Williamson County, came to our office and was telling us about how it's more and more common for people to falsify title information and change the title to their information.
It's crazy.
There's insurance programs out there that I don't know enough about that to speak intelligently of, but one example, actually two examples. The first one is there's one woman in particular in Williamson County who has attempted to steal 7 houses by falsifying title stuff.
But you're saying attempted; it hadn't happened per se, or maybe it did happen. I don't know.
It has come very close. I think people have lost. I don't have the specific examples.
I never heard of that.
But the fearful example is, look, somebody was putting in a pool, and when they go to do some big construction, the pool company puts a lien on your house so that they can be sure that they're going to get paid. Well, they put the lien on the house, and they went out of business.
Okay.
So everybody forgot about the lien that was on there, and somebody went and purchased the lien and tried to foreclose on this person's
house. So crazy.
Yeah, and it was tenuous, and it may still be going on right now. So,
speaking of foreclosures, are you seeing many foreclosures these days?
Not a lot.
In the old days, of course, 10 or 15 years ago, because of the crash, foreclosures were so common, or short sales. Are you working any short sales, or people that are in trouble?
No short sales. I was working on a purchase of a foreclosed home.
Mm-hmm. In Georgetown?
In Sun City.
Yeah.
Actually. And that house, HUD actually didn't have everything cleared yet. So that it's been more than 6 months since we terminated that contract. But
is it still in the market?
No, they're waiting to get something in title cleared.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So every now and then you'll see a foreclosure, but it's not very common.
It's not common.
Is a job structure pretty good? Good jobs numbers out there in Georgetown, Williamson County?
Overall, it's really good. There tends to be higher end jobs.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning of the show, or actually before the beginning of the show, I was saying, I don't want to just talk about Georgetown, but that's really, I know that pretty well.
Yeah.
And their focus has been on growing high-end businesses. So
you mentioned some support around Google or Tesla.
Yeah, there's a lot of buildings going in near the Costco on Airport Road, actually, for peripheral businesses for Tesla and other tech companies that are coming here from California.
And I would think with the Samsung plant coming down there in Taylor, it's off of 130, isn't it?
It's really, no, it's pretty far east of.
Okay, but still, the commute to Georgetown's not very bad.
Right.
Yeah, so that may be another reason people want to move to Georgetown, as opposed to moving into Austin, where things are really expensive. So before we end up, I want to give you an opportunity to share how people can get a hold of you, your name, your phone number, email, that sort of thing.
Sure. Best way to reach out to me, phone call or text.
Best way to reach out to the best agent in town.
That's what my mom told me. So,
yeah, that's right.
I'm not going to argue with her. 512-592-2929. Did you get that? 512-592-2929. Tom.Catlin, Catlin. Don't call me Caitlin. But if you do and you want to buy a house, I'll probably forgive you.
Yeah, there you go. So what do you see? We're going to fix it to wrap this thing up. Give us some other things around the Williamson County area that if listeners, not necessarily Georgetown, but somewhere up the north side of town, why people want to live up there?
Well, it's its own. It supports itself now. It used to be you had to go to Austin to get stuff, but with Amazon and with everything else, everything that you need is either available or easily accessed. Just go into Austin when you need to. Like if you need to join me at the symphony.
That's
I've
right.
got season tickets
That's
there.
right. Yeah. Speaking of the symphony, I know you love the symphony.
Yeah.
And Tom had given me some tickets. My wife and I went, I don't know, a few weeks ago. We had a great time. So I wanted to reach out and thank you for that, because it's even from Lakeway, the symphony is kind of a haul to get to, but it was certainly worth the drive.
Yeah, it's really pretty.
Yeah. Well, I think that's going to do it for today. And I appreciate you coming on, Tom. I know that we've been friends for a long time and we've done business together, and you are an expert in the Georgetown, Williamson County area. And I want people to think about you when if they need your real estate needs.
Well, they also need to think about you. You really care about the people, and I appreciate your concern for buyers.
I appreciate that.
Sure.
All right. Have a great day.